While President William Jefferson Clinton certainly doesn't need an introduction, I get to give him one anyway. I'm very pleased to do so because the president has always been a steadfast supporter of business and the Ex-Im Bank. He recognizes that American business and trade is the source of our nation's productivity and the source of our standard of living. That while it's important for government to be a regulator of business, it's just as important for government to be an enabler of business. That one of the best ways to build peaceful and prosperous relationships between nations is through commercial. That we live in a global, interconnected economy. That our nation's ability to do good things domestically and internationally is derived from the strength of our economy. As president, this wasn't just an intellectual exercise, but rather an understanding that manifested itself in deeds. The 1993 economic package that brought us from deficits to surpluses and economic expansion. Providing financial loans to Mexico during their 1994 economic crisis. Help that the American public did not support by a 5-to-1 margin and put the president at significant political risk, especially if it didn't work. It saved Mexico and the loans were paid ahead of time. Completing nearly 300 trade agreements, including NAFTA, GATT, and securing PNTR, or Permanent Normal Trade Relationships, with China. So please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, President William J. Clinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. First, I want to thank Dave for the introduction. We have become an unlikely group of friends, I guess, he and I. Small group, big guys. But Honeywell has been a terrific partner with the Clinton-Clavin Initiative on energy efficiency projects, with our global initiative because of what they've done on technology training in Mexico and China, and I really appreciate his services on the bipartisan budget committee. The president appointed him to what's become known as the Simpson-Bowles Commission, and their report seems to have been forgotten, but I hope maybe after the election will be dusted off, because I think it's about the best framework for beginning our efforts in dealing with our long-term debt problem that I've seen. That's a free ad for Alan Simpson and Erskine Bowles. But I want to thank the members of the diplomatic corps as well as the business people who are here. I understand Vice President Sambo of Nigeria is here. I welcome you. I love the country. I do a lot of work there. I want to thank my friend Fred Hochberg, who I think has been a great president of the Ex-Im Bank. Vice Chair Rhonda Felton, the board members Pat Louie, Larry Walters, Sean Mulvaney, who are here. Thank you very much. This audience is full of people who once worked for me, and I hate to start mentioning them, but I can't. I want to thank Kevin Varney, who is marshaling the Ex-Im people through the photo line in the back. He will always have a special place in my heart. He and his sister were both in my administration because he was so kind to my late stepfather, who passed away a couple of years ago at 92. Thank you, Tom McDonald, Tom O'Donnell, Tim Keating. Thank you very, very much for everything you did. Phil Kaplan, Orson Porter, all the others who are here, who worked in the White House or in the administration. I'm saying this because support for the Ex-Im Bank used to be a bipartisan deal, and I hope it will be again. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this in the context of where the American economy is, not just where the reauthorization bill is. The president set a goal of doubling U.S. exports in 5 years. That can clearly be done. In the 8 years I was president, we more than doubled exports, 168% increase. So that's almost 100% in 5 years. This can be done, but it has to be done with a strategy that includes a lot of things. And I want to kind of set this in some context. First of all, ever since the landmark study by the two NYU economists a couple of years ago, more and more people have noted that America's income stagnation problem may have a multiplicity of cures, but one of them is to have a higher percentage of our employment in the tradable sector of the economy. And I remember when I was pushing NAFTA and all those trade agreements and the creation of the World Trade Organization when I was president, it was obvious to me that we had to do that because export-related jobs then, I'm sorry I don't have the current figures, export-related jobs then on average paid 35% more than non-export-related jobs in the United States. I'm sure the numbers are more or less still the same. Since President Obama took office, beginning with the NYU study, there have been a whole raft of studies that show that Americans who work in the tradable sector of the economy are likely not only get jobs with higher starting pay, but pay that increases with the growth of the companies. People who work in the non-tradable sector are much more likely to get jobs with not only lower starting pay, but without pay raises that keep up with inflation and economic growth. And I say that because most of the discussion here in Washington, and I've participated in it, and I'm a Democrat, so you know what side I'm on this, but a lot of this has been about tax fairness and income inequality and the extraordinary gains of the last decade, in fact the last 40 years, accruing to those of us who are in the top 1% or top 1/10 of 1% of earners. I think that's an important debate. But wherever you come down on that, the most important thing is to keep growing the economy. If you don't grow the economy, it doesn't matter how you divide the shrinking pie. In the end, our hopes to build a country and in fact a world of shared prosperity will fail.